Yep, we're recording.
All right. We might as well get started. I mean, we have a fairly light agenda with respect to topics and content, so we can kind of move through. Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the Social Determinants Work Group meeting from the Reading Consortium. There's Ray. Ray and I will be moving through the agenda, and please do know that this is being recorded and will be posted for the public. And then also, if we could right now get a roll call in the chat so Haley can take attendance, just type your name in if you're a member of the consortium so we can get attendance. All right. Real quick, an overview of the flow of the meeting. I do not anticipate it going till 6 o'clock. So do know that you're going to get a little bit of your family dinner time back. We are going to just provide some updates on our accomplishments as a work group. We'll have just very high level overview of where we are, and then we're going to talk about where we are headed next for this work group. And then because we are a public meeting, we will have public comment at the close of the meeting. I think that's it for the agenda. Ray, you want to, or this came from one of our recommendations as a work group. This is probably one of the most active work groups in terms of generating recommendations for action within, DOE or anywhere in the state for that matter, with respect to the Reading Consortium. I know that there were a lot of other work groups ongoing, but early on, we kind of solidified and gelled around several main topics, and pre-K funding was definitely one of them. And I think, it should be celebrated, the amount of seats that we've been able to offer now that Reading has supported our recommendations. These are just some of the high level numbers. We continue to get updates from that from Matt Den specifically. He's one of the biggest advocates in this space. So Ray and I are regularly getting updates from him, as well as Dawn Alexander, one of our key work group members in the pre-K space throughout this process. And I see Haley's just kind of editing and sharing feedback along as we go in the chat. So please be paying attention, because if either Ray or I miss anything, Haley will be sure to type in what we forgot that we said we were going to cover.
So the note was Caitlin Gleason has provided this information around the combining of funds now referred to as state-funded contracted seats for ECAP. So the nomenclature around Reading versus ECAP that has gone away, so that there's a uniformity around state-funded contracted seats.
Dawn,
Thank you, Dr. Menzer. And what's not in this data, and I think it's important to note, is that we have school districts who also receive this funding, Colonial being one of them, Christina, and there are districts in Kent and Sussex who are also meeting these requirements. So this list is comprised of community programs, but it's important to know that we have children who are also receiving these services through the district pre-K.
Thanks, Dawn. Duly noted.
Yeah, I think the what she's provided, thank you, Dawn, is those that are all Wilmington residents.
Yes, I believe that was one of the key focuses on this slide.
So there are children. So for Christina, there are children who are Wilmington residents, and the same for Colonial. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, just something to note that we do serve a small area of Wilmington, and Christina serves a pretty substantial area of Wilmington, and children in Christina are receiving that support.
So thank you, Dawn. What we'll do is, for our next update, is we'll have a separate slide for district programs.
Mm-hmm. If I could, just for the sake of that conversation, and again, Dawn brings up a valid point. Those students are captured within districts. I think what will be good to know is through these community-based state-funded contracted seats in terms of longitudinally where they're going if they are entering, our K-12 system, like to be able to benefit, to see if there are benefits, obviously, to these seats, but for us to have that knowledge as receiving districts.
And I'm
If-
grateful that you asked that. When we do within eSchool, there's a field, and it's something I could show people offline. I don't know if everyone's interested in that, but as a state-funded program, every state-funded program has to utilize eSchool. And so whether they're in a school district or whether they're at, let's say, a Leap of Faith or Kingswood, they're using eSchool and they're checking yes in the field. It used to say ECAP, and I think it actually might still say ECAP. We need to talk to DOE about changing that. But then that is an eSchool. So that's something that can be reviewed as they move through elementary school and on.
Yeah, and thanks. I'm familiar with just how we tag them in the system, but I'm just saying in terms of looking at outcome and program effectiveness to be able to look at how that's actually happening as we look at it through more of a collective impact lens. But thanks for elevating it.
Point, Darrell. Thank you. Okay, Haley, you want to jump to the next slide? Another one of our big initiatives was a data dashboard for the city of Wilmington specifically, and we really high level. We do have some folks from DOE here. I see Adrian and Christy here from our work group that was kind of jumping into this dashboard. We are in phase 2, and we're not like stalled or paused, but the Infinite Campus conversion is something that works. We are waiting to hear back as we move forward, like what features in Infinite Campus will lend itself to the data dashboard, the equity dashboard we've had. And I don't know, Christy, if you have an update on that conversation to where you see that heading, or if that's just one of those ones, it's just kind of waiting for the timing to land just right with Infinite Campus.
Yeah, so I have a few updates. Good evening, everyone. Katie Semmel was not able to be here tonight. She's the executive director of the Data Service Center, but she did want me to relay that the next stage of the project is in its early stages. That there was a little bit of a delay with getting priorities around Infinite Campus, as well as the unit count system, because the Data Service Center redid our unit count system for the Department of Education. So they had a lot on their plate that they needed to complete first before beginning this work. But they are anticipating getting started within the next few weeks, which is really great news. And so we still will be able to finish that work this fiscal year, school year. So looking forward to that. I do have a couple of slides to share about the DOE student information system if you'd like, or I can just send them along for sake of time. But there's, I think, 5 slides that I could give you just an overview of where we're at with that project.
I think it's fine. A high level overview, Christy. Share where you are. You have some slides prepared. I think it'd be helpful for this group. This has been one of our ongoing conversations since the start, so it'd be good just to kind of see where it's headed.
Okay.
I think we just shared the access with you.
Yes, you got it. I just want to make sure I'm sharing the right desktop here. So I'm going to go with that one and then move my screen over. Here we go. And this should work. Okay. So we assigned a 10-year contract up to 15 years with 5 one-year extensions with Infinite Campus. So the contract and system is going to be around here for a while. We have wave 1 that we are in the middle of implementing with a go live date of July 2024. And then the wave 2 schools will begin planning next fall of 2024 with a go live date of July 2025. The Wave 1 schools listed here on this slide indicates all of the districts and charter schools that opted in to be part of Wave 1. So this was all volunteer. So those are the LEAs for Wave 1. Just give you a second here to see it. And then Wave 2 is a little bit smaller, but it's a good, healthy balance. And we have all different counties represented, different types of schools, VOTEC schools, charter schools, and traditional districts in both waves. So we're really thankful for that. The current status right now is that DOE is working on implementing the state model, which will roll up all of the data to from the different databases to the state model, so that we will be able to determine enrollment search, ID assignment, transfer of students while we're on both waves. So that's really important for us, so that we keep the same student IDs as well as enrollment history. So we're working through that with Infinite Campus right now. We have held half of our program meetings here at the department with Infinite Campus, and we're scheduling the second half. So we've had about 60 different meetings with Infinite Campus, drilling down on the different program areas. And when I say program areas, I mean like attendance, discipline, medical information, learning locations, CTE, higher ed, so all of those different areas. And then we have begun our LEA project leads meeting. So our program manager at the department is meeting with Infinite Campus program project managers, as well as the district, so that we have LEA cross collaboration, as well as receiving feedback in a timely manner to address. And all of the Wave 1 districts have had their initial kickoff meetings with Infinite Campus, and we're reviewing eSchool Plus buildings for migration. So what that means is sometimes districts have like choice buildings, or what we call 888, like transfer buildings, or other buildings that they've created in eSchool that the department doesn't know about. So we just want to make sure that we have a list of all of the buildings that are migrating to the new system, and then identifying integrations with eSchool Plus, because a lot of the transportation, food service systems, curriculum systems are purchased locally by LEAs, and they're very different, but we're doing a matrix just to see, okay, we have, 20 of our Wave 1 LEAs that use like Trapeze or Destiny or Renaissance Learning. And we're making sure that we build these integrations for faster data, which does lead to more actionable data for outcomes, as well as those data integrations that is going to be feeding the equity dashboard. So if we can build in integrations instead of like the traditional, we'll send you data, you upload it into your system, you look at it, then we send data back to you. Like that's really an inefficient way of doing things. And so we're building those data integrations with Infinite Campus, so that we can get data to and from systems more quickly and more efficiently. And so we have a statement of work that all districts are reviewing. And it's really just, our commitment, the Infinite Campus's commitment to the project, as well as some milestones, training, and then working on Schoology integrations as well. So Schoology, our Schoology contract ends in June of 2025, so it will go through the first wave. And our digital learning group is working on an RFP to potentially replace Schoology or keep Schoology, but that is a separate RFP. So that's all that I have. I would, certainly entertain any questions that someone may have. I think there's something in the chat, so I just want to make sure that
Christy, could you do me a favor and send that slide deck to Haley so she can add it?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes,
Appreciate it.
sir. Will do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Haley, if you bring the agenda back up. So with respect to the dashboard, as Christy alluded, DSE picked up a pretty big lift with the unit count from this year. And it was not saying more than anticipated, just more. And so, you know, Katie's, the dashboard didn't fade away. It's still on the agenda to get pushed through and hammered out throughout the rest of this fall and then into the spring. By the end of the spring, I believe we'll be able to see some of the deliverables that are on the screen here and that Christy and Adrian and Katie have been talking about for about a year now.
Mhm.
And you see here some of the successes of this. I mean, I think one of the biggest successes was to push through to align the City of Wilmington tag from geocode with students. That's something that's been super valuable in terms of the work that we've set out to do based on our geographic boundaries that we've ascribed to the City of Wilmington. And then also being able to link it to educator data that's also in DSC is also going to be something that we're looking forward to seeing what that looks like in phase 2. And then here's a recap of the timeline that Christy kind of outlined. We're looking at spring 24, having the beta version of it built off of, I believe it was last year's data. I think is which I think last year's data is what they're using in the beta as a static example of how it could look and feel in the design that was built. Within some enhancements related to the Tableau reader that they're going to start utilizing from DSC in terms of representing data.
Yep,
Christy,
absolutely.
did I miss anything from?
No, you got it. Yep, they're learning Tableau as well, and so looking to implement it as a delivery platform. But yes, you covered everything, Dr. Menser.
Great. All right, so that's our data dashboard. And then one of the other things that came out of this last budget cycle was fiscal support for Boost, which has been a kind of a, I don't want to say a sideline, but a side work between the Newcastle County Chiefs and Newcastle County VOTEC, who serve the City of Wilmington, just kind of collaborating and working differently around students from the City of Wilmington. And just really recap, we did focus in 2022 on those students slated to graduate, and we did release a lot. We released some data around that, and we also used that data from that cohort for a profile to help us kind of zero in on what we needed to do better or improve. The following year, we focused on the class of 26, which are our current 10th graders now in the City of Wilmington, with ongoing support now being funded through the Reading Consortium for community graduation coaches that each of the 4 districts have now brought on board, and are working with that cohort of 10th graders who were 9th graders. The goal is to see them through to graduation. We did just receive from Katie, like last week, like right before the holiday, the first marking period data for the Boost 26 cohort as 10th graders. So we will be kind of sharing that and pushing that out once the Chiefs and I get a chance to meet. We're going to be connecting tomorrow, as you can see on here. The conversation that we picked up this year with Boost kind of dropped the notion of a graduation cohort, and we're now focusing on our conversation around middle school. We had a conversation with a healthy group of district and community folks around what we can do differently for middle school, but just asking a lot of questions. And we've really don't have anything necessarily to share from that conversation other than it was really a healthy 2 hours of interaction amongst groups who don't normally spend a lot of time in the room, from Nemours, which I see that I left off the list here. Nemours was there. The CEB building, CEB was represented, Wilmington Parks and Recs, and Aspira has joined the Boost cohort, the Boost conversations this year, as they have students who they serve in the City of Wilmington. So Darrell, I don't know if you wanted to add anything from that conversation, just that we're meeting tomorrow to talk about next steps for the conversation, but if you want to share.
No, you hit all the key points. Again, I think we really noticed the early intervention as much as it is trying to help junior and seniors, graduate. We know that as we talk about pre-K, from a community standpoint, we got to start earlier to intervene. And that middle school age group, for a number of reasons, tend to be the forgotten group. And then when we look at, community disruptions and who is suffering and experiencing higher volumes of community disruption, it's those students who are, within that middle school age range or demographic. So Jeff, you hit all the other key points.
Yeah, we have a list of 12 questions that were brainstormed around, like, how can we answer these? If we answer these questions, we'll have better outcomes at the end of the day. And we're going to now take a look at those lists, those questions. Each district has ranked them in terms of what ones they feel that they have the capacity and lift and compassion to do. And we're going to just throw it in a hopper, count them up, tally across, lowest numbers win. And then from that, we're going to come away with 3 questions and then figure out like which one of those 3 will be the next one we tackle, or if we can do them all at one time. We're going to bring our group back together, hopefully sometime before the holiday. It just really depends on schedules and calendars and the like. So that's really tomorrow. We're going to get together and talk through that tomorrow morning. So that's really all for the boost. If there's any other questions.
Jeff, when you share out the slide deck, can you share also what the questions are?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, we have I can actually share the slide deck from the day, but then also the list that's at the end of the day that we have the questions. Yeah, no problem. Just Haley, make sure you make a note of that so I remember that.
Yep.
I do plan on we are still working with Boost 26 as well, because we want to track and monitor them, and that's something I'll talk about a little bit further down the road here in terms of continued engagement. So that is something that will also be able to provide Tika as we move forward. Okay, the next slide. Ray, is there anything else to add to this one? I know you were.
Thank you, Jeff. That's all the information that we're able to provide, because Matt hasn't received a report of who was actually awarded a grant.
Okay.
So we can share that post meeting.
Okay. All right. So those were 4 pretty big areas that we had a significant impact on, I believe. And a lot of that is to credit to the folks who were in this room, and then some of the folks who were no longer in this room that were, part of this work group from the outset. And I feel like it was like a long time ago, but I know it wasn't, that we just started coming together actually during the pandemic to kind of look at things differently for the students in the city of Wilmington. What we're proposing now is a path forward is we feel that the timing is right for the work that's going on in the city of Wilmington outside of the social determinants work group, but also in terms of the Wilmington Learning Collaborative and the larger picture of the governance side of the Reading Consortium, that we're recommending that the social determinants work group sunset, and we move more into just a monitoring of those initiatives that we just listed, the 4 initiatives that we just listed, that we would provide regular updates and reports. Ray, did you have anything to add to that? Okay. I think we have time. The next slide is, oh, here we go. This is how it's going to work. All right, Haley, you're right on top of things, man. As always. This is what our original thoughts were around how we were going to monitor and track. So just take a look at this slide, and then we would take any feedback that you have around this approach after you get a chance to see what we're proposing.
So first, Ray and Jeff, just thank you for championing this work group. I think, again, out of all of the work groups through Reading, while all the work is important, I think sometimes we put the social determinants on the back burner, so to speak, because it's not kind of that quantitative achievement data, but I think it's the foundation by which all schools and communities continue to thrive. So however we continue to monitor, I think it still needs to be a proactive voice, albeit the work group may sunset, especially with the WLC coming on board. And I wanted to elevate because there's also another data sharing agreement with the WLC that we've asked DSC to kind of put together, and I don't know where those two efforts align with regards to the data dashboard that they're putting together. So really, again, continue to have that clear focus and alignment. I think something that's going to be beneficial or critical moving forward, albeit the work group itself may not be introducing new efforts. But thank you for your leadership. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Darrell. Appreciate it. I mean, I that's nice, and I appreciate that. But this work group was actually a pretty dynamic work group with a lot of folks who had energy, passion, and commitment for the work. So I do, Ray and I were, I guess, fortunate enough to be the co-chairs, and I appreciate working with Ray. But the folks that were on this group were definitely in the trenches, in the weeds, looking at, Darrell, what you said, like the things that aren't like front and center, but they're actually probably more important than things front and center because they're the foundation. So if there's no questions or
I
feedback.
see Tamara put something in the chat.
Okay.
And I can come off mute. I am, again, just gratitude to you all for taking the lead and ensuring that everything will be done with fidelity. I just wanted to get clarity. Are we going to just receive updates on the monitoring and how things are going, or just if issues arise? That's all.
If I'm not mistaken, Haley put this on my calendar like regularly. So I think our next regular meeting, we'll kind of figure out a template or a format, Tamara. I do think just probably a quarterly kind of email update. And we had originally kind of said, like, if there's an area that one of you was working on that's rising up that we have feedback, we'd probably reach out to you directly. I don't know if we've designed like exactly what it looks like yet, how we would provide the updates, but the plan is to figure something out.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yep. All right, Haley, the next slide. Oh, all right, good. See, we were one step ahead of the curve. Okay. Do we have did you get any? I mean, I don't even think we advertise this a little bit harder, but is there anybody who's in the public audience who'd like to make a comment? If so, please just raise your hand or just note it in the chat. Okay.
I'm not, but I just kind of wanted to explain why I just like to pop into meetings. Sometimes I try and follow the Reading. And so I go to the public calendar and just try to, if I have an opening, just trying to just stay informed. And so just kind of wanted to explain why I just popped into this meeting. So thank you all for everything you're doing though.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Sorry you had to see our last one. Potentially. So
Jeff, can I just
Haley, do we have a quorum?
Jeff, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
60 seconds. I just, maybe it's duplicative, but a big part of this is a pretty substantial list of stuff that this committee got done and funded. And that was in large part because a bunch of the people who are on this call spent a ton of time, over a very long period of time, putting together really substantive, thoughtful proposals to do these, pre-K, the wraparound services, we had like a bunch of subcommittees and people just invested a ton of time in this. And when those things came up with the Joint Finance Committee and were competing with other really good ideas for funds, they really withstood scrutiny. And the quality of the work had a lot to do with the fact that they got funded. So I just, again, I realized there have been thanks being given out, but I just wanted to add mine that, they're almost I'm just looking at this participant list, almost everybody on this call served on one of these committees, and just over a period of months and years, really added a lot to the work product. And that's just a big reason that it's had, what I view as a good, I don't want to call it an ending. I hope it's a starting point, but a great jumping off point.
Thanks, Matt. So Haley, from a technical standpoint, should we get a motion to sunset maybe? Is that something we have to do or should do? I don't know how the other groups did theirs when they like kind of quietly, like educator work group. Did they do a vote? Do you know off the top of your head? Is that like a protocol, or do we just kind of quietly just never call another meeting?
I think the consortium did it at one of its regular meetings.
So should we bring this forward as a motion on the at the 14th?
That's probably the right way to do it.
So I guess this would be just a read of the room here. It would be to allow us to go forward to the consortium with the recommendation to sunset. So it wouldn't be the official sunset. We would have to go forward to them. So I guess maybe we should do that then, just so we can say and Haley, you confirm we have a quorum?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So can we get a motion on the floor before we close out to go to sunset the social determinant work group?
This is Dawn, and I make a motion that we move to sunset the social determinant work group.
This is Tamara, and I second the motion.
And a show of, I guess, hands or thumbs up, eyes. I see we have one. Dawn, Tika.
Aye. Sorry,
Dwyer is
I'm
the
driving.
only verbal aye. All right. Well, everybody else is
Sorry.
good. All right.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay. All right. I think that's it for this evening. Please make sure if you got an opportunity to attend the Reading meeting on the 14th. Ray and I will bring forth this recommendation to the full body, and then we will continue to figure out the best way to update this room and provide the information to kind of keep, like Matt said, keep this highly engaged, highly energetic group moving forward and building off of our successes. So I want to say thank you. It's been a great experience for me. This is one of the first like non-district type things I ever did. So I really enjoyed it. Ray, just to be clear, Ray always scolds me. When we meet, Ray scolds me, just to be real clear. She keeps me on point.
Thank you all for being great thought partners, and we'll continue to do our best to serve all of our students with excellence. I did put in the chat that Jeff and I want to have an in-person appreciation lunch. You probably don't get lunch, so we'll poll you in the new year. And if not lunch, like a right after work kind of thing, so we can thank you in person.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. We'll get to you after the new year, but soon enough. So definitely want to show our appreciation. All right, all.
Thank you.
Enjoy your rest of your evening. Take care.
Thank you.